Hey everyone, this is Will, one of the hosts of Cantina Conversations, but you already know that because you're listening to this show. Anyway, I just wanted to give a short message before the episode plays to let you know that for some strange reason, my internet was giving me some troubles while we were recording this episode, so the audio gets a little funky at times, and some things might seem like it's jumping around just because there's portions where I completely dropped out, and I'll have to edit that out of the show so there's not weird silences. But overall, the episode is still perfectly listenable or watchable, depending on how you're consuming our content. But I just wanted to give you that heads up. It's nothing with your headphones. It was something with my internet for some reason. Thanks. Enjoy the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Cantina Conversations, the number one conversational podcast in the galaxy. I am one of your hosts, Will Beeman, joined as always by my two Canadian compadres, starting off with the Captain America himself, DJ Giller. DJ, how are you doing today?
I'm not Captain America, and I'm fine. I'm gonna refute that. And I'm not even going to reference what you're referencing about my attire today. I'm just going to move on and go. You continue to Jackson.
And joining us as well is the ever astute Jackson Wells. Jackson, how are you today?
Pleasure. I'm a little tired, but I guess we'll get to that. Also, I want to show off. I'm wearing this Darth Vader Christmas T-shirt.
A very
Not
good shirt.
only does it have a cool graphic, I also like the sleeve design here, and it's very soft. So, whoever made it, I'm not gonna look at the tag right now, but good job.
Yeah, take your shirt off and read the tag. Do it. Yeah, so
Take your shirt off, please.
Jackson's reference of being tired is he surprised the world this morning and actually woke up at 5 a.m. with DJ and I to watch this episode of The Mandalorian. That's why instead of wearing his Kylo Ren cosplay back to back, that's why DJ's wearing his Captain America cosplay.
Is that why?
He's just in a good mood today.
I'm very tired as well.
He's not angsty or moody. But I don't have any news to go over this week, which means we can dedicate the entire episode diving right into the smorgasbord that is Chapter 13, The Jedi. Dave Filoni's third attempt at directing live action. This episode was also written by him, which Chapter 5 last season was. I'm pretty sure the pilot episode that he directed was a Favreau written episode. So this was his second written episode. And a lot of people leading up to the week keep making the jokes where they were like, we're gonna just see Ahsoka at the very end. She's gonna be the cliffhanger of the episode because that's how they do things in The Mandalorian. And they wasted no time. Pretty much immediately after the opening establishing shot, we get to see Ahsoka Tano in the flesh, in live
action flesh, the actual flesh,
tearing down some bad guys with her lightsabers, those beautiful white blades. I guess this will be the proper time where we can just kind of get into what we think of how Ahsoka looked, because I thought she looked beautiful.
Yeah, we've seen your tweets, Will. We know what you think she looks like.
Yeah, I was just...
We know
I
you're
just couldn't... I couldn't... Yeah, I'm simping so hard because I could not believe that this character translated as well to live action as she ended up doing. I did have some, caution going into the episode, thinking maybe she would look dumb or something. But, DJ, we'll throw it over to you first. So why don't you give us your thoughts on seeing our girl Ahsoka in live action for the first time?
It was really jarring whenever you first see it, you're just like, okay, that's her. That's the thing we're doing. Okay, I'm all right. Let's do it. I guess you're just so thrown off, especially because they do it right from the jump with no warning that this might happen. So that it was really jarring at first, but the more I watched it and then rewatching it, I was like, this looks good. This looks totally fine. It didn't help too that I was watching on my laptop at 5 a.m. rolling. I just kind of roll over and grab my laptop and just put it on my lap and just kind of watch. So that kind of hurts the visual quality. But watching it on my TV on the rewatch, I was like, yeah, this looks good. This looks good. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought it was, for me, visually, I think she looks perfect's not the word, but she's like this. It's a seamless transition that I was kind of not concerned about, but it's just like when you've seen someone for like years in one medium and then they bring it to like reality, you're like, there's no way, especially because like Ahsoka isn't just a human character. She's got some very distinctly alien features that can be kind of confusing and apparently controversial. Anyways,
Right.
my major point is I thought it was almost just as interesting the way in which they introduce her. It's like kind of unceremonious. Like she's just kind of going for it. And like they do like a very brief kind of like she spins around and like she holds, but it's not for, it's only like for like a split second. And it's not until she like starts talking with the people that they actually like you get like a really good look at her. I thought it was so interesting that it's not just like like the superhero dive down and it's like, oh, here's my like 360 flip around of what she looks like.
Yeah,
So
they
I
did
really
a similar
liked,
thing with Bo-Katan.
yeah. So I thought that that aspect was really interesting. And yeah, I can't remember. I had another point, but I can't remember it. So let's keep going.
I'm sure you'll think of it as
Yeah.
we go. Were you going to say something, DJ?
Yeah, I was just gonna say I have no, because of all like there's like 4 different designs for her in Clone Wars and then Rebels and then this. Like I have no default design for this character anymore. You know what I mean? Like in my head, there's just so many different ones that it's hard for you to nail any of it because there's so many different directions you could go in. And like the one that they did, like it looks fine to me, but like I don't have a clear idea of what this like the default state of this character. You know what I mean? That like you
Right,
usually
yeah.
have those kind of like idea, like that
Mhm.
ideal of the character. But it's so weird seeing her now just because there's so many different variations.
Right. Like I even realized today, um, like I thought she looked the closest in the episode today as she does on the cover of her book out of any of her appearances.
Right.
Um, so like I don't know, maybe if that was like the template they used for her or not, but like the controversy that we're kind of hinting at, if you're not into the weeds like we are, is there are nerds online mad that I can't think of the name for them, but like her tentacle things, that her horns that her race has, her species. Um, there are some sweaties online that are very upset that they were not long enough to meet their expectations.
I need longhorns.
They were very upset that they were more Clone Wars length than not Rebels length.
Which they hated when they got longer when Rebels came out.
Right, and now they're mad that they're short again. But see, that's like a continuity change that I can live with because like Rosario Dawson, the actress that's playing Ahsoka, is wearing like a physical rubber-based headdress during all of this. So to have her around that go down to her knees just aren't really like a thing that she could be wearing during this point in time. So I mean I thought I didn't have any problems with how she looked.
Yeah.
I was fine with all of that.
And you can chalk that up to like art style changes,
I mean, not
right? Like it's just
right.
It's
yeah,
whatever.
that's just that art direction of it. And
Yeah.
to translate her in live action, they're gonna have to make art direction choices.
Yeah.
I was an art director myself for a short period of time, so I know all choosing process.
It's like when they transferred Kit Fisto from live action to the Clone Wars, and they made him so much
made him
hotter.
hot. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I said, Rosario. But like I said though, like Rosario Dawson does play Ahsoka, and not to like discredit her because I know I've been harsh on her in the past, but like she's not like an outstanding actress, but she's not a terrible actress. So they probably could have like given her Ahsoka material and episodes and been like, this is what you need to watch when you're going to perform this, because she absolutely nailed a cartoon character's mannerisms, facial expressions, voice tonality, way better than I could have thought it was. And having her voice as Ahsoka was not as jarring as like it not being Ashley Eckstein. Like I kind of thought that's what was going to be the hardest part to sell me on it. But once she started talking, I was just like, yeah, this is Ahsoka. It fits.
Yeah. I think especially like you two, up until literally last night, were watching episodes of Clone Wars and Rebels to kind of like
Hmm.
get a refresh on Ahsoka. I didn't do any of that. And to me, I was like, that's Ahsoka. Seamlessly, it all fits. So I think maybe for
Yeah.
some of the people who aren't like literally watching it up until last night, like I didn't watch it that long ago where I forget what she sounds like, but I'm like, oh yeah, this is what an older Ahsoka would sound like in my head, and it translates well.
Hmm.
Yeah, I totally like. I haven't rewatched Rebels yet, but I did rewatching Clone Wars. It all moves along in a perfectly natural state. Like it all sounds fine to me, so I'm not mad about it. I do feel totally fine about it.
And I
I
don't
feel
know if
good
it,
about it.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I don't know if it was the camera angles throughout the episode or not though, but like she seemed shorter than I thought she was going to be. Like I always thought Rosario Dawson
yeah,
was like closer to 6 foot, but she just kind of seemed like average height. Not
yeah.
that that really matters. It's just I was really expecting her to look like taller, I guess.
Will is furious about
I am
this.
outraged. I am
Yeah,
canceling the Mandalorian because of this.
Will
exactly.
did one of those
Um,
things where like you take an object that's beside her and then you like scale it to guess her height.
yeah, I did
Yeah,
the math on all of it. So
yeah,
yeah, that's so this is like the opening moment when we're on the planet Corvus here of her just like mowing down these bad people, like these no-name bad guys basically that are out there just for villain fodder to be slaughtered. And there's a magistrate and a warrior that are like above this gate, and she's like, I know what you, or she's like, I know what you want. She's like, how many lives is the information I have worth to you? And she's like, you're going to give it to me, and you have till tomorrow to decide. And she runs back off into the woods of this planet that they're on. And
Shout out to Michael Bean.
yeah, uh,
I looked
legendary
him.
Aliens actor that DJ just recently watched and could not finger point that's
I
what he
didn't.
was from.
It was 5 a.m. Will
I
like
know.
maybe,
I know.
maybe
And
if we watched
40
it like a
years.
solid 7, yeah, like maybe I'd figure it out.
I,
Yeah, big
I
big
just
time
like giving
difference
you a
too.
hard time.
I thought it was funny. I was like, oh, that guy looks familiar. And then I was like, look, and you're like, oh, it's Michael Bean. I was like, oh yeah. And then I looked him up and I was like, oh yeah, I know him. And I was like, Terminator, Alien. And I was like, oh, that's pretty much it for this guy, eh?
Yeah.
Anyways,
And I know usually in our show we go plot by plot through these episodes, but like there was so much packed into this episode despite not really having a story. I think we're going to go more along moment by moment than how the episode goes because there's so much
Right.
that happens, um but really at the same time nothing happens, which is kind of a complaint I have
Yeah.
of the episode towards the end. So we'll get to that though, but let's keep starting out here where Mando lands on this planet and he's like, hey, we're finally here. And Sebastian has his moment where he uses the force to take the little ball thing back to play with or whatever and tries to take it out of the ship. And Dad Mando is like, nope, you can't do that. And so like Mando finds the city and they let him inside and he's like trying to talk to townsfolk and like no one wants to talk to him. They're all like hiding in fear. And these soldiers find him and they're like, the magistrate wants to talk to you. And so she offers him a spear made out of Beskar.
pretty sick
so-
spear.
It's a
It's
really
so
nice
cool.
looking spear. In exchange for killing the Jedi, and she uses the line "A Jedi plagues me," which is a very good line. And she's got 2
Yeah.
HK assassin droids behind her. Those are a leftover character from the Knights of the Old Republic games that they brought back into the canon, just like the Pearl from the Great Dragons, bringing all that old video game lore back.
KOTOR's coming back, baby.
Did you also see, Will, that they have, if you zoom in on like their heads and you like up the exposure, they have a little symbol of I think it's called the Seventh Fleet, which is like Thrawn's fleet in Rebels, apparently.
Oh, really? No, I haven't
Yes.
seen that.
Yeah, so if someone like overexposed it, and you can see like the outline of the symbol. So these are clear like Thrawn's old,
Okay. Oh, well, that's
whatever
cool,
they
yeah.
were using them for, because
No,
they're
I
like
had-
followers of Thrawn and everything. So
Right. I had
makes
not
sense that they
seen
would have
that.
them.
Spoilers.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
Are
okay?
we spoiling the episode, Jackson? I didn't know.
We've never really
People
talked
listen
about
to-
that.
People listen to this show and they don't watch the episodes. They come here for the entire story, like that we give to them beat by beat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's they come to sit and listen to Will tell the story about an episode of TV he watched.
We're the
Yeah.
audio drama version of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So like Mando doesn't like agree to kill Ahsoka, but like he agrees to take the job, I guess, in a way. So he's like wandering out through the
Ooh.
woods with Sebastian, and he's got him like in his little pouch thing, and they're like wandering through the woods, and then if you listen really closely, right shortly after this time, you can hear the call of the owl, and then right after that, like there's a noise. Mando uses his little scope thing to try and see what it is, and there's just like a creature, and then Ahsoka comes from the shadows and tries to hit him, and this is where we continue with the Mando's the lead action figure way OP type deal, because apparently the Beskar cannot be cut by a lightsaber, like, which has been able to
so
cut through
weird.
like every material in the history of the Star Wars franchise.
You know what? I'm into it. I
But
think it's cool. I also think it
The-
adds a little bit of a tidbit to like the whole like Jedi and Mandalore of being like ancient enemies and like the war
Yeah.
that happened. Like I know the new canon hasn't actually dug into it yet, but like I think that's a cool tidbit to add, that like they would have like these kind of like opposing, like the Beskar is made basically to combat Jedi in a way, and it's just kind of
Right.
persisted throughout the years. Like I like that
right,
concept.
like I mean, it does fit with the lore.
It's just funny.
It's just silly that she can slash at him with both her lightsabers, and he just puts a forearm up and goes, stop it.
Yeah.
Can stop
It's
a
basically
lightsaber, can stop
vibranium
30
now.
blasters.
It is
What'd you say?
vibranium.
Yeah.
It's basically just like it's just
It's
the
Star
cure
Wars
all
Especially
vibranium.
MCU
everything.
vibranium, where like
Yeah, where it's
you
just,
can
like, it
cure
wins.
cancer with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obvious foreshadowing is obvious. The Beskar steel spear that he has up for grabs is going to be something that he would definitely want in the future.
Ah.
But we'll keep going to that though. But like after this happens, though, he's like
Darksaber?
Ahsoka Sano, I've been sent here by Bo-Katan to talk to you, and she like turns her sabers off, and she's just like, I hope it's about that. And she just looks immediately at Sebastian. I was like, that's exactly kind of how I wanted her to react, to be honest.
Yeah.
Where she's
She's
like,
so chill
"Ooh."
about it.
that's like as close as she could be to just being like, is that Master Yoda?
Yeah. It's like a bit of confusion and also just like kind of excitement. Just like, are we doing
is
this?
cool.
Like
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
cool. Like I'm in.
So
And she
So
has
we-
that same like Ahsoka giddiness about it too, where she's like,
Right.
oh, okay, like yeah.
she's
So
like
I liked it.
she's like excited and curious and kind of scared
Yeah.
at the same time. And so then we get like this really interesting moment where it's nightfall,
A lot of
and
lore.
Ahsoka is just like hanging out by lantern light with Sebastian here, and she's just like looking at him and smiling, and he's like looking at her and doing his little coup talk and stuff that he can do. And Mando's like in the background, like pacing around like a stressed out father, trying to figure out if his kid is sick or not. And then so like she
Like go
eventually
to the doctor's office.
yeah, so she like picks him up and carries him like a baby, grabs the lantern, starts walking over, and he sits down and he's like waiting for the news. And I was like, so what do we got here? And he's like, can you talk to him? And she's like, yeah, we have a way, I have a way of speaking with Grogu. I don't even know how to react. Like, first of all, hashtag not my Sebastian.
Right.
But, like,
what a
I've
drop.
never been-
Grogu?
I've never been less like I've never had such a little reaction to a character being named than Rey Palpatine. Because she was just like, yeah, talking, and I was like, all right, that's fine. I wasn't expecting him to be like Yerda or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a
it's
weird
Yada.
Did you guys have a reaction to that name at all or
Confusion.
anything?
I was just like, what?
Yeah.
Did they do it? Is this okay? This is happening. Okay. I guess his name's Grogu. I don't know.
Like, I almost
I'm not
wish
mad
they
about
just,
it, but
Yeah, I'm not mad at
Is
Kinda
Will
left
having
him
video
unnamed.
issues?
I'm just so child. Am I what?
Are you having video issues or am I?
you're dropping
you-
out. He's dropping out for me too.
You guys have been cutting a lot too.
You've been cutting a lot for just you have been
And then me
cutting a
and
lot.
Jackson are fine.
Yeah.
Oh, but then
between the
you
two
guys
of
will
us.
freeze, and then I'll be fine.
But between the two of us, DJ and I, we're
We
not
both have
cutting
looked
at all.
at each other and been like, "Is this happening for you?" kind of thing without saying it. So
I don't know. Maybe my internet's having problems today.
Okay. Just as long as we're all aware.
No, we should be good though. I mean, it's the audio is what's important anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, so yeah, I don't know, like Grogu, just
it's one of those things where I go, his name is Grogu. I'm like, Grogu. I was like, well, I mean, but what did I think his name was going to be? Brad?
yeah. It's
like I don't know what I expected.
I mean, everyone just assumed for a while that it was going to be something with a Y, but
yeah, because the only two we know have Ys.
Yeah, so
but they're also ripping Yaddle from canon.
No, they're not. They're not ripping from her. See, this episode, we'll get to that in just a second here, is exposing all of you casual Yaddle bandwagon fans, and we'll get to that because
does Ahsoka not ever meet her? Did she like die before that?
There's never.
She leaves the Jedi Order.
Yeah, when the Battle of Geonosis happens, she's not on the High Council anymore. She's a conscientious
objector.
And then we don't know what happens to her after that. So there was never a chance for Ahsoka to meet her. Everyone's like, well, I guess Ahsoka never met Yaddle. And it's like, well, yeah, if you knew your Yaddle lore, you would be familiar.
True Yaddle fans would know.
Yeah. So anyways,
she is not the hottest. She is not the hottest lady in the Star Wars universe for no reason. Put some respect on the Yaddle timeline.
Here's a terrible theory. When they say later in the scene when they're just like, he was hidden from the temple, do we think that's why Yaddle left to protect him?
No, because this would have been before that, though.
Okay.
During the Clone Wars, yeah.
So basically, and we can talk about this. This is going to be a good discussion point. Is
the theory was a joke, by the way.
Ahsoka says that Grogu. It's going to take me forever to get used to. I'm just going to keep calling him Sebastian, at least for this episode, or use it interchangeably. It's like that's his Darth name. And Sebastian's his real name.
I kept calling him Baby Yoda in chat, and I'm like, he has two names: the fake one we gave him, and a real one now. I can't call him Baby Yoda anymore.
And the one that Lucasfilm kept trying to make a thing with the child. That everyone's like, it's Baby Yoda, guys. You can't. Well, stop.
now they can sell all the exact same toys relabeled as Grogu for double the money. Exactly. But yeah, so Ahsoka is like, yeah, he was being raised in the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. He was taken from the temple and hidden, and that's where his. And I was just kind of like, when that happened, I was like,
that's a lot of information.
Like,
yeah,
like that's not something you really just dump in an exposition sentence.
I don't know if there's a way to do it. Sorry, I don't know how this would have. What's the right way of doing this?
Well, I mean, we've had flashbacks already in this series.
True.
I guess a flashback to prequel era is a tall order. I think. I don't know. I think
flashing back to modern day or not modern day, but like modern day constructed Coruscant.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a tricky situation. I'm not mad about it, but they definitely could have done it a little bit better.
Here's my question: which masters? Because we know most of them,
right? And she was like, many. I was like, okay, well, I mean, we had 7 seasons of the Clone Wars, and they never brought him up once. So it's like, where was he hiding this whole time? And also, I had the same confusion you did, Jackson. We were doing our math, and age-wise, his age lines up right with that timeline. Still such a baby. What kind of training could they have actually done with him?
I think the word training is using pretty loosely here. I think it's more so they're just like a just kind of doing something over his head, just use the Force, you just kind of get a feel.
So you think he was in a Jedi nursery, and that's what they meant by training?
Yeah. Because you can teach a baby to crawl, so it's instead of teaching him to come over here, you just teach him to drag something over. I'm you kind of I can see how it makes sense in that world.
Use the Force for his own little spinny thing that babies have to help them go to bed. Yeah, mobile.
Yeah. He was
this
not wielding a lightsaber. It's fine. I think training's pretty loose here.
Mm-hmm. This movie kind of I think seems like a lot, but I think it's on par with a lot of the prequel era retcons of what's going on. You're like, oh man, this massive thing that was actually happening behind the scenes the whole time. And in that way, it feels familiar. And in that way, it feels good and familiar to me.
Yeah, Star Wars is used like the entire character of Ahsoka is just like, how does this not come up in like episode 3? And like that's the same thing here, where it's just like, how does Baby Yoda not come up in the Clone Wars show? Like this happens all the time. We got to move on. We just got to accept it.
Yeah,
This is what this franchise is.
I just thought it was weird that they just did that giant lore dump in just like the 2 sentences. But like another thing though, like doesn't bother me, doesn't turn me off from the plot at all. But like I just kind of like how I wish he didn't have a name. I kind of wish he was just like another of the species that they found, or he was created or something. I didn't want him to have ties to the old Jedi Academy.
I hope that they like there's a reason they're saying that. I hope it's not just like we end this show and there's just like, yeah, they could have just left it alone and be like, oh, I've seen one of Ahsoka could have just said I've seen one of these before, and that would have been it and would have been fine. Like I hope there's some connection that's gonna happen.
He's Yoda's son. Yeah, it's all about family.
What's your family name,
Yoda? Palpatine.
Grogu Palpatine. But yeah, so she was like, I'll test him in the morning and we can see where his skills still lie. And like she tries to like play catch with force catch with a rock with him, and she like pushes it over to him and he catches it. And she's like, come on, Grogu, give it back. And he just like drops it. So then she's like, well, I want you to try. So Mando tries with the rock like a dad trying to teach his son how to play catch, and he won't take the rock. So then he like takes the little ball thing out from the Razor Crest, and that gets
good Chekhov gun.
Yeah, so that gets Grogu to react with the Force and pull that over, and Mando's like heel clicking and all excited that he did it. He's like, see, he does have powers. Can you train him? Would you, missus?
Yeah, he's like a dad when his son first hits a ball off a T-ball thing, and he's like, oh, you did it. Like
he's going pro.
Job,
yeah, he's gonna be the next big ball league player.
Get a scout on the line. We got this.
And then so Ahsoka is like, she can sense like a lot of fear and anger in him, and she has like a strong attachment to Mando. So she's like, I won't train him. And she has kind of like a very similar Luke Skywalker-esque moment where she's like, I've seen what fear, attachment, and anger can do to even the best Jedi. I won't let that happen again. And it reminded me of when he was like, I've only seen this raw power once before. Yeah. And it was in Ben Solo, and so like it did kind of mirror it a little bit, where it seems like Ahsoka
makes sense for where she is.
But... Yeah.
I was gonna make a comparison that's actually wrong, because I was gonna compare it to Obi-Wan and Luke, but Obi-Wan was very eager to teach Luke, like, so I apologize.
Yeah. Obi-Wan was like, Luke, I beg of you. I'm gonna basically kidnap you.
I've been waiting so long for this. It's also kind of like an Anakin thing. It's like the same thing. He's got an attachment to his dad, like Anakin had an attachment to his mom.
And, well, it's like Luke had an attachment to his home, and then that burnt to the ground, and Obi-Wan was like, dang, that attachment's gone, huh? Maybe we should leave. So she kind of had like her Luke moment where
her grizzled old Jedi moment.
Her grizzled old Jedi moment where she's like, we don't need more Jedi, because I mean I've left them because they were so bad. And
like you get where she's coming from with everything that's happened in her life, and like I was thinking about it, I was like we all think she's probably met Luke at this point, and like how she feels about everything that's like happening, and like them trying to restart what is going on, and like she sees it that like this is not the path here, and it turned out it wasn't. Like we watched the sequel trilogy, didn't turn out well. So she was right in a way.
Yeah, I think she's met Luke.
She was working with the rebellion during Rebels.
See, that's what confused me about her stance.
They would know each other.
She's like talking about like how attachment to another person can like lead to the bad side, and like maybe it's because the only experience she had being around Ezra was like when he was being tempted by the dark side the entire time, and then she ended up fighting Vader. But like Ezra was very attached to Kanan, and it wasn't until Lethal, and it wasn't until Kanan sacrificed himself for Ezra to learn the lesson about letting go and doing what's right and like saving Lethal that way.
What a good show.
Yeah, so like I mean that kind of doesn't really line up consistently, I guess, because like she was most recently around Jedi that were attached to each other, and it seemed to be all right for them. Because
Yeah.
like she wasn't around when Kanan sacrificed himself. I'm sure she could sense it in a way, but
Yeah.
I mean she doesn't know that he had died like that or whatever. But
I think they're much more drawing on her Clone Wars experiences and just like in Rebels, like she straight up doesn't call herself a Jedi. I'm like, she doesn't. They call this
I
episode the
am no
Jedi,
Jedi.
and I get it that way they call this episode the Jedi because like that's just a marketing thing. But in the actual core of the episode, like she's not. She never refers to herself as a Jedi.
Well, I
Other
think
Like
people
when they
do,
talk
though.
about,
but I think
she
it's
almost
like
isn't their person.
like she left the Jedi Order, but like people like the magistrate and stuff, like they don't know that. Mando doesn't know
Yeah,
that unless she would tell
yeah.
you. It's like how I went by Willie until I was 25, and now I go by Will, but I still have people call me Willie, but that's not what I go
Yeah.
by anymore. It's like the same thing. It's like she was a
Yeah,
Jedi
like-
for most of her life and then stopped being one, and people still call her that.
Yeah, these words mean like such like different things across eras too that it just like
Mhm.
it doesn't matter. And like I think the core depth of it for me is like that she does not think of herself in that way anymore, and that's why she's also like kind of apprehensive about it. Like she doesn't even want to be involved. Like
Right.
she doesn't want to be a part of what we're kind of starting here. That's why she's just like at the end of like we're not going to skip to the end, but I think that's why she's like go to this other planet and find some other dude. Like I don't want
Yeah.
to do this.
Right.
So I'm totally fine with this direction for her. I think it makes sense.
Yeah. So basically Mando's like, I'll help you with what you need done if you promise to train Grogu here. And she's like, okay. And he's like
What's
breaking
the
down.
ears to hear?
I know. And it's like, so he's like breaking down like the troops she has, what's at her disposal, and he's like, oh yeah, she's got this Beskar spear. Your laser swords aren't going to do anything against that. And I'm like, oh, people are going to be mad that he used laser swords. That's something people don't like. Apparently, it was only okay when Count Dooku said it,
That's
not
because it
anyone
is
else.
sick when he says it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's true.
So like they're raiding the village the next day, and like we have this really awesome, like basically shot for shot redo from Yojimbo, where Ahsoka's just like in the middle of the empty street, and all of the bad guys are on the other end of the street looking down at her, and she starts walking down the road or whatever, and the magistrate's just like, all right, kill them. So then Ahsoka takes off, and some of the soldiers follow her there, and then she like turns to these prisoners that they're torturing, and she's like, execute them. And right before they can do anything about it, Mando comes in, and he starts just gunslinging around. And like this action scene's cool because it's shot very old traditional samurai film, like technique wise, but it's cool because it's kind of blending Ahsoka as a samurai and Mando as a cowboy. So it's like the two things that influence the original Star Wars mending together in this whole action bit. So that was pretty cool. So like Mando saves the people from being executed and like helps get them taken down. And I was really hoping one of these prisoners that were up in these cages was going to be Kyle Katarn. Ahsoka's not. So I was hoping maybe that's why it would be called the Jedi. Down, he's like, my name's Kyle Katarn. I'm a Jedi. I work with Luke Skywalker. I can take you to where you need. And well, let me be excited, DJ. I like to speculate.
I'm fine. Like I would be pretty interested if they actually did Kyle Katarn when they do like responsibly. But not here. This was not the time.
Well, if I wrote this episode, it would have been Kyle Katarn.
It wouldn't have been Ahsoka, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
No, Ahsoka would have been there. That prisoner would have been Kyle Katarn if I wrote it. And then it's like Ahsoka finally like slays her way up to the gate, makes her way over the wall, and she's facing off with the magistrate finally. And once again, very old school Kill Bill Volume 1-ish, where they're just like slow and steady fighting each other. There's like dialogue in between, and she's like, I have what you want. They fight a little bit more. Ahsoka loses one of her lightsabers, And then while this is happening, Michael Baine's character is trying to have like a standoff with Mando, and he thinks he's pulling a fast one and like lays
No,
and he's like,
he's a fool.
so like while this is happening, Ahsoka knocks
It's
the
good dialogue.
Yeah,
He's
Ahsoka knocks
genuinely
the
funny.
spear off of the magistrate's hand. So like she brings her lightsaber up to her throat. She's like, I want to know where your master is. Tell me where Grand Admiral Thrawn is. What?
He's blue.
I wasn't expecting a Thrawn name drop, to be honest with you.
I'm
So that
pretty
was-
sure I
real-
said something about Thrawn last week.
I think
in our
you
I
did.
said I said it too last week. I was like, this is gonna happen, 100%.
So
And I did
Go
not
me.
think it was going to happen.
I get
so
a
good
win.
job, guys. Yeah, you guys both got a win. DJ got the
Yeah.
super win after last week.
Exactly.
But yeah, so she was like, "Where's Grand Admiral Thrawn?" And then it cuts back to Michael Baine's character. He's like, "Well, sounds like you won." So he like lays his pistol or rifle down like he's surrendering, and then he tries to pull a fast one and take one off the hip, and then Mando just blasts him down. He's like,
Yeah.
like
Nope.
you can't do that. I'm the John Wayne of Mandalorians, and
Yeah.
takes care of
literally.
that. Yeah, literally, and takes care of that. And so this like city is freed, and they give like one of the townspeople the role of new leader.
the only
and-
one that they showed throughout the episode.
Yeah, he has
Yeah.
like he has a moment with Mando earlier in the episode when they like people are refusing to talk to him, and so Ahsoka's like, I think this is yours, and he's like, I didn't fulfill the job, and she's like, this Beskar spear deserves to be with the Mandalorian. So now he's got that spear that can withstand saber blades. So when
Such
Mando
Such as
when Mando fights against that dark saber later this season, it's gonna
Yep.
look sick.
there's gonna be some sparks flying.
Yeah, there'll be sparks flying indeed. And then so Ahsoka's like, so where's Grogu at? He's like, oh, he's waiting in the ship. So he makes his way back to the ship, and Sebastian
nice
is
moment.
He's
This
still
is a really
sleeping.
nice moment.
It was
The
a very
music
it was a
here-
sad moment. Yeah, turned into like the flute variation, and it reminded me
of-
kind of like the end of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I was thinking the same
Yeah.
thing. I was like, this is they're having a party. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
And he's like, get your rest, little one, because it's time to say goodbye. And then he just kind of like sat next to him while he was sleeping, and his posture just kind of looked sad. And I was like, he can't. There's no way he can leave
No.
this child. They can't do that to him. Like, and I was actually getting like sad. I was like, he can't say goodbye. And then Ahsoka comes to their ship instead of him bringing the child back, and she's like, I'm still gonna train him. And he's like, what? You promised me. And she's like, yeah, well, I just wanted to get that thing done with. I have no
Yeah.
interest in training. So she tells
Mando
him,
makes a lot of bad deals.
yeah,
They always
he
end up bad
does.
for him.
Right. So she tells him to take him to Tython, and there's an old Jedi temple there, and there's some pedestal that she can sit Sebastian on, and
The seeing stone.
he can
is
the
what it's
seeing
called.
stone. He can call out using the Force, and then a Jedi could potentially hear him and seek him out. So, and she also mentions that there aren't very many Jedi left at this point. And my
Yeah.
thought process is there's only a few possibilities here. It could be Luke. It could be Ezra. It could be Cal Kestis, if he's still alive at this point. We don't know his fate yet. We've only had one video game.
That's so weird to think about, but it is
That would-
technically a
yeah, it
possibility.
is technically possible, but
and they have the actor.
I think it's the
Cameron
least
Monaghan
likely.
could just show up with a beard.
that
and be
that
like-
man's done shameless.
yeah.
Yeah.
He just grow a beard and shave his head or something and be like,
Yeah,
oh,
he's
no, I'm
old
20
now,
years older.
obviously. Yeah.
And then another option would be it could be a new Jedi, or they could bring Kyle Katarn back.
Yeah. I think
or-
a entirely new character is more likely than Cal. Not gonna lie. I think
Well,
they'll go in that direction first.
Or there's an option I completely forgot about. I don't think it's that likely though, because he should still be like a kid himself at this point in time. But Jason Syndulla is still alive.
So I was rewatching the Rebels epilogue today, and I was like, they could do something here. Like,
I mean, they got to do
Could
something with him. Like he's a toddler
Eventually.
Jedi around this time period. Well, he's not a toddler. He's
Yeah.
like 3 years old, I think. But I mean, he's alive. I mean, maybe he could be the one that could be like, "Hey, Mama Hera, I'm sensing something weird. We need to go here like now." And
Yeah.
she's like, "Oh, okay, we'll fly there with the ghost and roll
I'm having
up."
weird feelings, Mama. Can you explain these to me? My
Okay.
body's doing weird things.
So let's
I'm
run through
confused.
this.
Yeah.
We've got Luke,
Mm-hmm.
Ezra,
Yes.
Cal Kestis,
Yes.
this Jason Sindula kid, and then what else do we got?
Or it would be a new option. I said Cal Katarn, but it
Yeah.
could just be a
Yeah,
whole new
we're gonna
Jedi.
give
An
Cal
old
Katarn
canon,
a
probably.
half of a finger.
Okay.
No.
So
Full figure.
We got to be
Or a
leaving.
Force Ghost.
it could be it couldn't be Kylo. That's time wise. That doesn't make sense.
A lot of people think
Yeah.
it's going to be Force Ghost Yoda for some reason.
I don't. If they do Force Ghost, that's the only option, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't
Like
think they will.
Qui-Gon Jinn.
I don't think they'll go the Force Ghost route personally, because that's really not going to get them any answers. If first of all, Din is barely understanding how the Force works himself.
Yeah, he's
going to
kinda
be
dumb.
scared. He's going to be scared crapless if a ghost shows up and starts
That's
talking
true.
to him.
Yeah, I think it's
yeah.
funny that I kind of like the angle that it looks like we're heading on of like fish out of water Mando, who's like uber mensch, like superhero, and then he's got to like deal with like this force, and he's just like, what
Yeah.
what are all these like weird hand movements going on here?
And be a
Yeah.
dad at the same time.
Yeah.
But-
I think this obviously kind of culminates with Gideon running into them at this
Mhm.
different
Yeah.
planet is what my guess
He's still
is.
tracking them. That's my
Right.
guess too. Like,
I thought he was
we
going to
gotta
show up
address
this
that.
episode
Yeah, I thought he might
Yeah.
too. Or he
Yeah.
might come to this planet
shortly
into
after him.
Ahsoka.
Yeah, it could be.
and maybe
Um,
Ahsoka gets captured and that's how they bring her back, where they're like, give us the
Maybe,
baby
yeah.
and we'll kill this lady.
Well, I mean, I could see this being the only time we see Ahsoka this season, but we can get to that in a second.
We'll get to that
But,
after.
I just think that's as outlandish as that prediction from our British friends in the Star Wars Session podcast is. I think all roads are leading to de-age Luke Skywalker. I think that's going to be how this season ends.
I think it's happening, but I don't.
You don't
I
want
think
to
if they
believe it
do
yet,
it-
do you?
No, I think if they do it like next, it's not gonna be next episode. Like I think if he hears
No,
a call,
I think it'll be
like
the final shot of the season. Like
Yeah,
kind of
that's
like
what I'm
how
about to
Force
say.
Awakens was.
like I think
it's him holding Grogu and they're on the
Yeah.
island and it's rotating.
And
the
then
same- oh my
at the
God.
first episode of season 3, he takes Grogu and throws him behind his back.
yeah.
Just chucks him into the water.
Yeah. Like I think next episode we hear like if he gets a call from Luke, it'll be like it'll just be like vocal, like it won't be anything, or it'll just be like purely through like Grogu's head, like he'll just hear it via the Force, and like we won't actually know. But then like, and even like for the last shot of the season, which I agree, I think that's where we're going. Do you guys think they're gonna have an actor, or do you think it'll be a CGI thing, like Rogue One, Leia, where they're just like, let's do this,
Well, I
and
mean,
then we'll cast someone?
they have those CGI assets from
Right.
Rise of
Rise of Skywalker.
Skywalker.
It's
So I
Sebastian
think that's what
Stan.
they'll do too.
I mean, they could just hire a stuntman and CG over the face.
Yeah, that's
It
what
seems
I
like
agree.
more work than what they usually do though for Mando.
I don't know. I think ILM has kind of perfected that formula now because they've done it so
Yeah.
much with like the agent Robert Downey and Michael Douglas and all those MCU actors, and like I think they've kind of figured it out how to do it. So
And
I think
also,
they'd be able to
if
get that done.
If you're gonna spend the time to do it at any point in this show, this is the one that you got to do it with. But we all think if they do this, they're gonna get an actor. They're gonna
Yeah.
recast. Like if they're actually going to do this, then
Yeah.
they gotta. So
Right.
that'll be next
Um,
season if it happens.
I guess we'll find out. I mean, maybe that's like the big secret is all this stuff leaked, but like you said, DJ.
I just don't believe it. I just can't believe it. Like I
Mhm.
do, but I just can't.
Right.
Yeah, I think. See, I don't. It's kind of depend on how the next couple episodes go with, like how does Grogu respond when we get to this place? Do we even get there? Like, because Moff Gideon's tracking them. Like, is this even gonna happen? Like,
Are we
we'll
detouring
see.
next week?
Yeah, like, is this next week? As like a filler
Oh,
episode.
next week's the
Who
George Lucas
knows?
episode, remember?
Right.
Oh my god. See, I had this thought. I had the thought where I was just like, if we're going to Luke and we're going to some Jedi stuff, maybe it's George Lucas. That would
AJ,
make sense. And
don't-
then,
on,
and then
don't
I had to stop
hop on the
myself.
Don't give
train.
in to him.
I had to stop myself. So, but yeah, I don't know how this is gonna go. And like, I'm curious. We won't know until the season's over. But like, do we think this is a Mando thing, or do we think this would be a new show thing? Like, do we really think we can shove Luke's Jedi Academy into Mandalorian season 3? Like, that seems like it's its own thing, in my opinion.
I think the problem is at this point, like Mando and Baby Yoda are so interconnected
Yeah,
that they
like,
can't that you can't separate the two. So there's no, oh, he gives off Baby Yoda, and then like what? How do you get bigger with the show? He goes
Right.
back to doing bounties once a week, and we just kind of go pew pew. Like I don't
Well,
think
yeah.
there's no coming back from this.
Well, okay. Well, let's just finish up what was left of the episode, and then we'll go into
Okay.
kind of speculating on what's to come. But I mean, basically, is he leaves for that temple, and then that's just how the episode ends, essentially. So, like I said
Yeah.
at the beginning, there's a lot dumped in here, a lot to speculate about, but it really, I mean, not only does nothing really happen, but this wasn't even really a Mandalorian episode. This was an Ahsoka episode that Mando was in.
Yeah.
Like
Which
this
was the rumor, to be clear. Like,
Right,
that it was
right.
rumored that it was going to be a backdoor pilot to her
Well,
series, which
see,
I
that's
think kind of
what
happened.
that's what I want to branch off of is everyone online, everyone in like the Facebook groups we're in some Discords that I'm in, they all are like, well, this is obviously just a backdoor pilot because Ahsoka's trying to see where Thrawn is, and this is just to set up the Rebels sequel that we're gonna get and find it that way. I kind of had the thought at the beginning of this season, and then I was kind of trepidatious just as the episodes of the season started off and how last season went, where I wasn't really fully committed to it, but now I am. Season 3 is going to be the Rebels sequel, and this is why I think that because with Bo-Katan showing up and expanding her plot threads left open from Rebels, Ahsoka showing up this episode, mentioning her threads from Rebels. And before this season started, Favreau had said he really appreciates the Game of Thrones style of storytelling where they can have multiple storylines going on at once. And I think next season we'll have an episode with the Mando and Child doing their thing, an episode with Ahsoka trying to find Thrawn and Ezra, and an episode with Bo-Katan doing her thing, and it's just going to rotate between those three. Those are going to be the 3 story threads that we'll get over those 8 episodes. Will that end up working? I don't know, because 8 episodes is not much time to try and do that much material,
especially for like a sequel to
but when they
shows
when
that
they
long,
plant
that
when they
long.
plant those seeds and these guest appearances have been the way that they are, and like even Sasha Banks said her character's done this season, but she's still signed on. So
She's coming back.
I can just see season 3 is going to be that way, and that's going to be very divisive for people because this episode was already divisive where people want Mando to stay small, but then there's also half the crowd that want this to be that Rebels sequel. And I think that's what it's going to end up being in all reality. Like that's my expectation leading into season 3 now, is it's going to be both the Rebels sequel and Mandalorian season 3. Thoughts?
I don't know if I'm fully there with you. Like, I think I think the plot line that I think is for sure going to be settled in the Mandalorian season 3 more likely is the Bo-Katan, just because I think that is like, if we're gonna dig into Mandalore, like this is the show to do it in, and that's the show to carry forward those path lines, then to bring him into the fold and all that, bring all those things to a wider audience. And I think that's a big point of kind of why I think they've chosen this route for the season, is that they want this, like, it's my cynical read on it, but I think it's true to a sense that they want this season to be an advertisement for the shows, and for people to get into the expanded show
And
universe.
see the whole. Oh,
Which
no,
that's my
just keep going.
cynical take. Like I'm not mad about that. Like that's like my cynical read on it. But like, and my hopeful read on it is that like it's good. Like people should watch those shows. Like we should expand and like connect things in this way.
Yeah.
So I think that's more, in my opinion, that's more why that we're doing this season, is that they want people to branch out, and then we're gonna go in our own directions here. I think, and I think it's more so we're doing this here so that people will watch the Rebels sequel series that actually continues some of those threads. For me, like the only thread, like I said, that I think is Mandalorian's thread is now Bo-Katan. Like I think all of that is season 3 stuff, but I think like Ezra and Ahsoka and that storyline, I still believe that we're going to get the Rebels sequel series that's going to do that. But I think they want to bring it all in. They want to bring it all together, but it does. I could see it going either way. Like it's going to be tough. We won't know till the season's over. I think where this is really headed. So,
right.
Jackson,
I don't know. I think the thing that makes it feel weird for me is like comparing season 1 of Mandalorian to season 2, and not to suggest that like they had it all planned out from the very beginning, but like these things kind of do have to be planned out pretty far in advance to like back up what any other like material they're going to do, even like comic book wise and stuff like that. Like these things have got to be planned. It just feels so weird because Mandalorian season 1 feels so small compared to this that I can kind of see it expand, like starting small, expanding in season 2, and then kind of contracting a little bit. But it's just like if this were the beginning, I'd be like, oh yeah, this is just what this show is. But like half of the show isn't. And I can't tell if that's just like, hey, we were just trying this out, or if like they're trying to get their way, or if these things are just kind of now is the time to throw these characters in to put them into new shows that are coming up, which I've like since like we started Mandalorian, I feel like a Rebel sequel series in that same animation style has just been a slam dunk for like years, but and I still kind of feel that way. So I don't know if I'm on board with the season 3 of this is the sequel to everything. Just considering even this season, the way things have been going has been so slow. The idea of them putting in more plot threads into like these 8 episodes and half baking all of them just doesn't sound appealing to me whatsoever.
Yeah. And like it's so hard to do it when you're committed to the 8 episode 35 minute run times for this stuff, right? When these are plot threads that started in 22 episode seasons with like 22-minute episodes, but like there's a lot of episodes. They're like all these arcs are long, and it's like they really dig into it, and this show does not have the means of doing that. So I think that's why it feels so weird. And like I don't think it's live action that makes it feel weird that these things are kind of happening. I think it's the fact that they just don't have the time. Like it's all getting thrown at us so quick that it feels like kind of off in a lot of ways. It feels like it doesn't feel right that we're going in this direction, even though like I'm enjoying seeing all these characters being brought to live action. Like it just something is not gelling. And I think that's kind of like our critique of the whole show, is that like it's not consistent.
There's still something just missing to Mandalorian as a whole. Like I can't really describe it. There's just it's like it's missing salt or something. I don't know.
Even like I enjoyed it. Why did we do season 2 of this season, or episode 2 of this season? Like it's fun, and it like kind of is like
I think it's to expand their father and son kind of thing before we really jump into the deep end here. Like I think that was the goal. Like I don't know if it was necessary, but
even the last episode, like I know, Will, you found it a little bit more enriching than I did, but like it's still breadcrumbs,
right? And even the Ahsoka stuff in this episode's breadcrumbs. Like
it is
like stuff could have been fleshed out more than just shoved into a 44-minute episode, 47 if you include the credits. But like, and another reason,
enjoy it.
Yeah, I still enjoyed it very much. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it's just very weird to, like, I don't even know how to really describe it. But like, another reason why I think season 3 is going this route now too is because, like, say this was a backdoor pilot for Ahsoka and the sequel series, why would they do that so early? Because they have Obi-Wan to get done, they have Cassian to get done, they have the Bad Batch to get done, they have Mandalorian, they have the MCU shows, and I don't think they're going to try and have too much overlap between all of those, if any.
No.
So like with over at least the next 2 years, there's nowhere to fit a Rebels sequel. There's nowhere to fit, and the's also that alleged Boba Fett miniseries that's filming.
Like,
yeah, remember
that,
Boba
that
Fett
would be
at
like
the
a
beginning of
6 week
the
little
season?
thing, but like, you know, still.
There is just, I mean, I get Obi-Wan is just part closed series and that's done. Cassian can't go on probably much longer than 2 seasons at most, just because of the timeline it's in. But like, there's not programming room for these spin-offs anytime soon without overloading it, and I don't think they're willing to do that yet. So that's also why I think season 3 is that way, because like, why would they set up Ahsoka now if we're not going to see her again for another 2 years? That just doesn't make any sense to me, because like that gives
I wonder if
Rosario
that's
time to
all...
age. Like anything could happen. Rosario could die. She could get COVID. Like,
And that's what I was about to say. I wonder how different this would be without COVID, because so much of their schedule, it would still be crammed. Like, it would still be a lot, but I think a lot of part of this is the fact that like some of the stuff Bureau got delayed, and
right.
like,
well, I mean, and they're filming.
I think they're cautious to announce a Rebel sequel series partly because of this. So
yeah, they probably don't even know when they can start working on it again yet. And
yeah,
but like
it's
because like Cassian's filming now in England. Mando season 3 is filming now. I mean, I just don't see where there would be room for these spin-offs people think that was a backdoor pilot for. Like, I think that's season 3, and I don't think people will like that, because they're going to take 8 episodes of varying lengths from 30 to 50 minutes, and they're going to try and tell 3 different stories with it. Or the Mando could just end up Bo-Katan, which naturally and be fine, and then it's these 2 seasons story, no Bo-Katan story, and then Ahsoka searching for Thrawn. But I don't know.
And we still have the First Order to get to.
Right.
Like,
I know. But
too much content.
I'm very excited to see what they do with these last 3 episodes. 3. That's where we're at. We have 3 episodes left.
We're halfway
they
through.
need to,
and they're probably going to be a half hour each.
Yeah.
Well, like, the finale will probably be an hour, because last year's finale was an hour.
Yeah. Like, we need to, like, if episode 6 is another breadcrumb trail, like, that's where I'm like throwing the table, where I'm just like, what is actually happening here? Like, what are we doing? Because like, it needs to start like knocking these out. Like, not knocking it out like in a sense of being good, knocking it out in the sense of like actually doing something, actually moving things forward and advancing the story.
It's like they're afraid to move the story by too fast. It's like breadcrumbing it is letting the general audience still kind of follow along what's happening. Yeah. And then it's like people like us are like, oh, these breadcrumbs are great. But like the general audience is like, oh man, that girl was cool. I'm going to go back and watch Clone Wars now and learn more about her.
Yeah. I think, DJ, I think you're going to be disappointed, because my guess is that the next episode's, my guess is that it's going to be Robert Rodriguez's episode. And I have a feeling that they're not going to give like a quote unquote guest director a like heavy lore kind of thing, because A, they don't really like get it, like the people they've had since season 1, including Dave and John, and B, like he's just in there to make a cool action like episode of Star Wars.
I wouldn't necessarily say that. Like, they let Bryce Dallas Howard do a lore episode.
Yeah, but Bryce Dallas Howard,
I guess she's kind of in on it though.
Yeah, she's in on it. And like, you think about Peyton Reed's episode,
right?
That's not really like a super heavy like Star Wars lore episode. Yeah, I think like the first season's directors are kind of like in on it, which at this point is just Bryce and like the 2 people who created the show. And then like Famuyiwa's episode is the second last one.
Yeah,
I think
7.
he's probably in on it enough. And then the last one is probably, if I had to guess, Favreau.
Yeah, I would guess Favreau's doing too, but I'm still going to hold strong that Lucas is directing one and they're not announcing it. If I end up being right though, Ooh, buddy.
You no, you
No.
win.
Yeah.
You win because you get you get Lucas Star Wars, and B,
Uh-huh.
you get to be right about it.
I know.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, I don't know. It's just weird that these episodes can be as great as they are because, like, I know we've kind of sounded a little negative about this. Like, don't get me wrong, this episode was awesome. Seeing Ahsoka live was awesome. I
Yeah.
cried my eyes out when she first popped up, and several times throughout the episode. This was a great episode. It's just frustrating because we have these great episodes, but we still feel like we're spinning our tires in mud. I
Yeah.
I'm really just ready for them to dive in. That
Yeah.
I have a completely unrelated Mandalorian hot take that I have to share.
okay.
Okay.
We need to stop comparing this show to cowboy and samurai movies. Even if they're directly doing it, we get it. This is what the show is. It's not like a hot to be like, man, that episode of Mandalorian was just like a Western. They all are.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the difference, like when I pointed out like this
yeah.
episode, like
I
this
was gonna
episode,
say-
they were directly mimicking shots.
I was going to say that before you made the direct reference, and then I felt kind of bad, but I had to say it
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You
it's
are
not
right.
against you, it's more so against the entire like discourse around these movies, or not these movies, this show, where it's just like, did you know that it's kind of a Western?
it's
Yes,
it's like
I
it's like
got
when
it.
people are like, "Hey, do you see that Logan's like a Western?" And you're like, "Yeah, I watched the movie."
I watched the
Yeah.
movie. I have an acute knowledge of film history. Like I get it.
It's just like it's all those people with all they've watched is Seven Samurai, and they're just like, oh man, this is just like that. It's
Yeah.
It's like there are samurai in this movie. Yes.
like yes, there are samurai influences and Western influences all over Star Wars. That's just how it is. But this one was like
Yeah, this one
directly
particularly.
mimiking shots.
And that's just because
which is-
Filoni's such a nerd.
yeah. He's
Yeah,
just one.
dork.
He's such a dork. I'm surprised there were no wolves in this episode.
That's
There was a loft cat though.
Yeah,
was
there
neat.
was a loft cat, but like you would have thought there would have been like a wolf in those woods or something. Since it's
I
like his
wish.
thing. But I don't know. I still thought the episode was great overall, but
Yeah.
since we're going in blind on these final 3 weeks, like I'm more curious than ever where this is going to end up going because there's like a definite direction they have to commit to, or it's got to pivot next week and kind of figure out where we're going. I mean, we'll get the
Yeah.
answer either way. By the end of the season, like you said, DJ, we'll have an idea where we're going.
Yeah. If I had to make a prediction for next week, if we're going into predictions time, I know Jackson said he thinks it's going to be the Robert Rodriguez, that kind of just adventure type thing, action type thing. I think we're going to get him attempting to go to Tython and Moff Gideon getting Baby Yoda. That's where I think we're going. And then the end of the season will be them trying to get him back and figuring out. So they're going to blue ball us a bit on
sounds about right.
Is he going to reach out to the Force? Like the whole thing with Baby Yoda there. Like I think they're going to kind of cut that off for a little bit, and we're going to get a little diversion to get him back. That's what I think. But
I already said what I think.
Yeah.
Well, you got any predictions for next week?
I don't think it's going to be a filler episode. Like, I think they'll get to that temple and then Moff Gideon will show up and they'll fight. And then, but like Moff will figure out at some point through dialogue or something what Din's trying to do. And he's like, oh, I could use this baby to find more of them. And that's why he wants it.
Like the
And
holocron.
he's like, I don't just want the baby now. I want to get all of them. So I think that's what's going to end up happening. I think they will fight next episode though, and it's going to be awesome.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have one last take, and it's a take. This is my only major disappointment in the episode. My boy Rex didn't show up. I said it
Rex.
last week,
I know.
It's dead.
and I had the dream is dead. Also, Boba Fett ? We never
Yeah.
talked about him. I feel like he doesn't fit into this.
Yeah, I don't know what
It's
what
got to come
they're-
back. I think it's going to come back at some point, but I don't know how.
You would
Maybe
think,
that's
but
what
Boba
next
Fett-
week's episode is. He has to
I
stop
can
at
see it.
Tatooine
I can
to
totally
refuel
see it.
on his way there,
Yeah.
and
Because you know
I
what?
can
That
100%
would,
see it.
not to go against what I just said, but that would be the cowboy episode because Robert Rodriguez does love his cowboy movies.
yeah,
That's happening. That's going to happen, isn't it?
Yeah.
This show.
That's what it's going to be, isn't it?
And you know who's going to be in the episode?
Who?
Amy Sedaris.
Oh, well,
I'm
there you
back.
go.
Okay. What
Where
happened
did I
there?
drop out at?
I can't even
can't
remember.
remember.
Oh,
It
we were
was-
talking about how episode 6 is going to be Robert Rodriguez, and I said, you know who's going to be in it? And I threw it to you,
Oh,
and then you
yeah.
froze.
Oh, good
And then
time to
DJ went.
freeze because of Amy Sedaris.
Yeah.
And then DJ went, who? And I went, Amy Sedaris. And we started talking about how you weren't here. And I was going to mention
Yeah.
that my tea, I always leave it to the bag in too long. So when it gets to the bottom, it's like bitter.
There's going to have to be some editing in this episode. That's unfortunate. More work for me.
Yeah.
But
Do you want to hop?
I don't know why my internet's being such a turd today.
I think unless we have any more predictions, we can just kind of hop into closing statements.
Yeah. Anyone have any final thoughts? Because I don't really
not
have anything
particularly.
left to say about it, other than that
Yeah.
it was great still.
No, I was going to make a
Rahu
hot take.
Kohli as Ezra.
Yeah. I
No.
think, honestly, this is probably my third favorite of the season, though. And only that high because Ahsoka's in it. I don't think it would have been that high if it was anyone else.
I
I would
kind
agree.
of like the base story, but I think they're just doing bare minimum like Western premises at this point,
Mhm.
where I'm like, oh, I just like these like story ideas in general, where if it were like not my genre, not that Westerns are my genre or anything, I would be like bored.
Yeah. I would put this one below the Bo-Katan episode and the first episode and maybe last episode.
Oh, really?
Maybe I would put it there. Yeah.
Like, Bo-Katan's episode's still my favorite.
Yeah.
Episode 1, second favorite, then this one, and then
Okay.
last week. Actually, I do have one final thought. Lots of cool imagery was mimicked in this episode. But as much as I love the man, Dave's far away from being feature
Yeah,
ready.
we didn't talk about this.
Yeah, we
but
didn't really talk too much about it because, like, he's not bad. He's doing serviceable director's work, but I got a cough. Like, he's not doing a bad job. Like, this was a well-made episode. It's a very simply directed episode, though, except for like the shots that are directly ripping off like Yojimbo and other films
Yeah.
like that. But
And the whole
like
palette is really bland.
Yeah.
Like I know they're going for that, but it
Yeah.
didn't work for me. Like it was
I know people
dry.
want him to just run everything and make everything, but he's a ways away from making a
Yeah.
film.
I just don't think he's that guy. Like,
I don't think he will be either. I think he's the story guy.
Yeah, I think
he will make
he's
the
guy that's gonna
stories,
plot
but-
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I do not think
Yeah,
he'll be
I
the
don't-
director.
And I don't see like the point of people begging for that, because it's like you like him
Yeah.
because of his writing
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Let
maybe
him
his
do what he's
animation
excelling
direction.
at.
Let,
I mean, he
let
does
Filoni
great in the
be
animation
Filoni.
world, but yeah. Oh, man.
And even a lot of the Clone Wars episodes aren't his directed.
Well,
like,
he
he's
was
mostly
supervising
supervising.
director.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, he's still
like,
hands-on the whole time, but
yeah.
yeah. But I mean, story-wise though, everything he does is gold. So
Yeah.
could you imagine a trilogy of films written by Filoni but directed by Rian Johnson?
That's a combo right there.
Wouldn't
I would
it?
be okay with that, yeah.
Because
And then they
I mean,
got-
say
and-
what you want about the sequel trilogy, at least Rian Johnson worked with the story group.
Yeah.
JJ and Bad
Right.
Robot would not work with the story group, and it showed.
Yeah. It showed throughout all 3 movies in a weird way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be cool though.
And
It also
oh,
looks
man.
awesome. So
Filoni's or not Filoni, Johnson's DP too is so good.
Right.
Steve Yedlin, all
Yeah.
of his movies are beautiful.
we're watching the original trilogy and sequel trilogy soon, right? I got a hankering. I feel like this is gonna happen. I feel like
For
we're
a
all like,
rewatch?
quiet.
Oh,
Yeah. I feel
Oh,
like
you
I
want to
feel like we're gonna do
rewatch
it.
Rise of
I just-
Skywalker?
Mm,
you have to. You have
Let's
to
do
because
4-3.
we have
Let's
to
do
do an
4-3.
episode where we do a 1 year later Rise of Skywalker. We just
we're
have
definitely
to.
doing it.
Yeah.
Like I got that hankering to watch some.
We got to
Star
do
Wars.
that. We got to do a 5-year anniversary Force Awakens. So the sequel trilogy rewatch has to happen. It's time.
3-year anniversary of The Last Jedi.
Yep. It's time.
The big
Just
3
celebrate
they call
everyone.
it.
Yeah, the big 3.
Yep. But I guess that's it for today, though. If you have any comments on the episode, what did you think of seeing Ahsoka in live action for the first time? Throw it to us on Twitter at Cantina Convo. If you want to talk to any of us directly, DJ, where can they find you at on the internet?
I was drinking. You threw me off. Well, I was drinking water, to be clear. But you can find me at DJ_Gillard on Twitter.
Jackson, where can they find you at?
Catch me at Jackson W. Wills. If you have any Star Wars questions, feel free to tweet them at me and I'll be happy to answer.
And you can find me on Twitter at Papa Star Wars. Yeah, great episode though. Very excited to see what next week does and where we're gonna end up finishing out this season strong. Only 3 episodes remaining. That's still crazy to think about.
We're running out of podcast content.
Yeah.
Gotta keep the season going.
Yeah, we gotta renew it for like 4 more episodes. But anyway, though, until next time, may the Force be with you.